What's up and welcome to Delightful D News and Views. I'm your host, DJ. Foundational Black Americans created R&B, but in the last couple of years, Nigerians have become the masters of it. Watch until the end because I'm going to explain the real reason why Nigerians have been able to take over. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put a like on the video and subscribe. The first reason that Nigerians have been able to dominate Black Americans when it comes to R&B is because their version is much more sensual. Now, I'm someone who loves R&B, and I believe that we foundational Black Americans perfected it. But in the last 10 or 20 years, R&B has become this very one-dimensional genre that's all about going to the bedroom and nothing more. That is until Nigerians really came onto the scene. We find that in the Nigerian version of R&B, it's much more sensual. The instruments that are used really pull on the emotion of attraction between men and women. We find that the lyrics are always a little bit hinting and teasing at different interactions without ever being overtly vulgar or too extreme. And this stems from the fact that Nigerians have thousands of years of cultural initiations and rites and practices that detail how men and women do the mating dance. And this is where Black American culture and its tendency to be very youthful and to a certain extent unevolved when it comes to romance really falls short, because you see the Nigerian version of R&B is able to pull on all of those secret mating rituals, those attraction signals, and that rich history of interaction between men and women in order to create a more fully developed experience. It's just something that the R&B of foundational Black Americans, with all of its synthesized beats and auto-tune, just can't replicate, nor can it compete with. Another reason why Nigerians have been able to take over and dominate Black Americans when it comes to R&B is because Nigerian men are more family oriented. Now, I know that we can laugh about all the jokes about Nigerian men having multiple wives and in different countries, but no one will ever say that a Nigerian man does not take care of his children. We know that Nigerian men are quick to marry, whether it's one wife or multiple wives. And we know that they prioritize and value having sons. It's very important to their legacy. And so with R&B being a musical genre that really stems from inside the house, it stems from what goes on with men and women behind closed doors, Nigerians have really been able to lean on their tendency towards being family orientated to really bring out the emotions of what goes on between men and women throughout the maturing of a relationship. So for example, when it comes to Black American R&B, when we look at our family structure, it's very much reflected in the music of R&B. Look at how in the music of R&B, most of the interactions take place in the club, at a party, outside. Why? That's because in the last 50 years or so, marriage has not been a cornerstone in Black American culture. Therefore, many of the romantic interactions are not taking place between a husband and a wife over an extended period of time. And so this really leaves a deficit in terms of being able to draw on those experiences of what a man and a woman go through when they're just raising their children over a period of 30 years, when they're driving to church together, together, when they're having dinner every night. And Nigerians have been able to fully tap into this because of their dedication to family, whether it's a man singing about living with his wife, whether it's a compound or a more Western style house, whatever it is, it's still within the family structure. And this has given Nigerians a leg up when it comes to R&B music, because they can go into more detail about the interactions and the emotions between men and women that are actually bonded, that are actually married, that are actually in a long-term stable relationship. And unfortunately, this is something that is just becoming way too rare in the Black American community, and it shows up in the inability of R&B music to really replicate that experience. Check this out, and I will come back with my final thoughts. And the final reason why Nigerian men have come to dominate R&B is because they love women, and more specifically, they love Black women. And what I mean by this is you rarely will hear Nigerian men going on and on about how they don't like their women, they don't like their women's skin tone, they don't like their women's hair. Nigerian men have no problem with a thick, dark, chocolate woman with her natural hair. They don't have an issue with it. And I think that's a spiritual reason why Nigerian men can pull out the romance needed, the passion needed, the heat needed, because it's no secret that Black American men have too often been on the wrong side of history when it comes to Black American women. And so the culture of any people is really rooted in its women. Women carry the culture. And if a man does not love the woman of his people, if he does not love the women of his culture, it is going to be hard for him to tap into that root sensuality, that root passion, the root force of it all. So that's all I have to say about that. Now it's time for you to get in the comments and sound off. Do you agree with me that Nigerians have taken over Black Americans when it comes to making good R&B music? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.